The Cubs beat the Dodgers 8-4 last night to get within one of a World Series berth. Since last appearing in the World Series in 1945, the Cubs have lost all 6 games in which they had the chance to reach the Fall Classic. Max, have you changed your mind about taking the field over the Cubs to win it all?
Nope.
Come on.
I haven't changed my mind, and allow me to troll Stephen A. Smith.
Please.
This explanation will troll you, Stephen A. You won't be able to help it. You're going to be salivating at the mouth like a rabid dog right now. I have not changed my mind.
You still staying with the field, right?
I am staying with the field, and yet I believe the Cubs will close out the Dodgers against Clayton Kershaw.
What?
And at that point,
what?
And at that point,
oh my God! Oh my Lord!
Wait a minute! And
you've been talking about the field, and now you won't even take the. Oh my! Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Oh my Lord!
Not only am I taking the Cubs to beat Kershaw, at that point, I will switch my prediction and say, no, I like the Cubs to go all the way. And yet, at this moment, I am taking the field. How are all these things possible? This is the way probability works. You reset based on new information. I think the Cubs are the favorites in any given series, but that doesn't mean if they fall behind in the series, they remain the favorite, or that just because they're the favorites in 2 different series, they're the favorites to win the whole thing. A quick math lesson. If you're 60% likely to win a series and 60% likely to win the next one if you win this one, you are only 36% likely to win the whole thing. That's under 50%. That means the field is more likely than you, even though you're favored in both series. Now, I will let you respond to that, Stephen A., because I got a doozy for you with Clayton Kershaw.
I have no response to it because as far as I'm concerned, it makes no sense to me. I'm watching the games. I'm not relying on sabermetrics, analytics, or whomever else is going to throw those numbers out there. I'm watching Addison Russell. I'm watching Javier Baez. I'm watching this kid Wilson Contreras, who might end up getting Hayward benched because of the way he's balling in the postseason compared to the way Hayward is balling in this postseason series. That's what I'm looking at. I know what I'm seeing. I came into this series saying I'm rolling with the Cubs, and I'm going to stay with rolling with the Cubs
just
right
the other
now
day, you were
because
like,
that's what I'm seeing.
Just the other day, you were like, I have to admit, I'm getting nervous. I'll stay with the Cubs for now, but I'm going to reevaluate.
I said, no, I did not say I would reevaluate. I said I was nervous, but I'm not changing. I'm going to keep the courage of my convictions because I believe in this young crew. I believe in these Rough Riders, and I want that damn curse over and done with so we could stop sitting there and talking about the curse that is the Cubs. I don't want to do that. I got one of my dear friends. I got one of my dear friends. His name is Dan Filato. His name is Dan Filato. He's from Chicago. He's a radio producer. I've known him for years. He's one of my dear friends, and I'm tired of hearing and seeing them cry about the Chicago Cubs and his best friend Bill Murray crying about the Chicago Cubs. I'm a Yankee fan, and I'm almost willing to go to Wrigley Field and sing that song, Take Me Out to the Ball Game, just to bring them luck so they can win. But they don't need it. They don't need me to do that, thank God, because they're gonna close this out and they're going to win because this is how it's going down. This is the way that they look, no matter how nervous I was. No matter how nervous I was.
We're in an election season, of course, and one of the issues that's debated, although it's not always mentioned this way, is Keynesian economics. And John Maynard Keynes.
What?
Yes, that's right. John Maynard Keynes was once accused of flip-flopping because he changed his opinion on something.
Teach me.
And he said, when the facts change, so does my opinion. What about you, sir? Or something to that effect. Yeah. So they're down 3-2, the Dodgers now. Yeah, the Cubs are likely to beat them, but they have Clayton Kershaw going. The Dodgers do, right? Here's the problem with Clayton Kershaw. Clayton Kershaw in elimination playoff games in his career, small sample size, nevertheless, he started 4 games. His team is 2-2 in those games. His personal record is 1-2 with a 6.08 ERA. Now, the Cardinals, something's going on with the Cardinals. There have been rumors of, are they stealing signs or something? Because they can't believe how well the Cardinals hit Kershaw. Okay, even if you take that out, he's still not quite the same guy in those situations as when there are less pressure-packed situations in the postseason. And others will say, well, that's because they want him to go on short rest. He's not going on short rest this time. Or, hey, look, it's a small sample size. Anything can happen. Blah, blah, blah. For the reason the Dodgers haven't won the whole thing already in these last several years, and they've had a shot a couple times, is because they need Kershaw, at minimum, to be the same version of himself in the regular season. At minimum, what does that mean? That usually Kershaw is a sub-2 ERA. I mean, what that means is Kershaw got to pitch 6 2/3, 7 1/3, minimum 1 run. That would be acceptable. But what about elevating and getting even better under the pressure? Like guys like Curt Schilling, I brought up El Duque, Fernando Valenzuela, and several others who really, John Smoltz and others, who elevated, who actually got, we seen Bumgarner, get better under pressure. He has to do that. And maybe he does it against the Cubs tonight. But based on his track record, he hasn't inspired confidence in me that he will. What I'm expecting to see is some at least slightly lesser version of Kershaw get closed out by the Cubs tonight. And if and when that happens, I will reevaluate my opinion about the field versus the Chicago Cubs.
So in other words, your position that you're taking the field against the Cubs is something that will change possibly in 24 hours?
Easily, yes. Well, when the field includes 4 teams
I have nothing
or
else to
6
say.
teams or 8 teams, it's different than when it includes 1 team, yes.
I have nothing else to say. So far, I've stayed with the Cubs. I'm sticking with the Cubs. I happen to be right. I don't have to debate you about
this.
You don't even know. Hold it up. You don't even know what the hell you picking. Everyone knows where I stand. I'm rolling with the Cubs.
I know. I know what I'm picking today, but then based on new information, that might change tomorrow. It's possible.
Sure. Okay, I got it. So you might as well not have picked the series then. That's what you're saying.
Why? No, you're making projections.
It's Friday, everyone. Let's stay in a good mood.
Okay.
Let's leave it there.
I roll with the Cubs. Coming into the series, I'm sticking with the Cubs.
I'm always in a good mood when Stephen A. Smith and I are berating each other on TV.
All right, let's leave it there. He had one last night. Aaron Rodgers, your guy, Stephen A., was 39 of 56 for 326 yards and 3 TDs, leading the Packers to a 26-10 victory over the Bears and setting a franchise record for completions. Rodgers struggled to get the offense moving in the first half, but the offense opened up in the second. Will we see the Aaron Rodgers we used to know this season, Stephen A., that bad man that you love?
I doubt it. And the reason why I doubt it is because I don't have that much confidence in his receivers. He dipped and dunked a lot yesterday, throwing the ball 56 times. Over 20 of them were for 5 yards or less, meaning that's how far he threw the ball. To me, that's not going to get it done. That's not the Aaron Rodgers that I know and love. The Aaron Rodgers that I know and love is whether he's in the pocket or scrambling beyond the pocket. The Aaron Rodgers that I know and love is the Aaron Rodgers that's going to fling the football downfield. I'm not sure that Devontae Adams, even though he had a big game, or Jordy Nelson, or Randall Cobb and those boys are capable of getting open in those situations against some of the better teams. I'm not getting caught up in the Chicago Bears. I think the Chicago Bears are a shell of itself. I think they're contaminated by the mere presence of Jay Cutler, even though he was on the sidelines and not playing. I think that Brian Hoyer going down didn't help matters. Barkley comes in, throws 2 interceptions. Their offense is anemic. As a result, you can take chances, and as a result, you can take chances on defense, but on the offensive side of the ball, you can afford to be methodical, dip and dunk, and beat them that way, chewing up the clock, and just march downfield, and that will be that. Against some of the better teams in the NFL, that's not going to work. I'm not saying that we won't see him. I'm saying that in terms of my confidence level, that bad man that I know him to be, I didn't really see much of that last night. And my attitude is that I'm not going to be convinced until I start seeing him fling that football down the field again. And in order for him to do that, those receivers are going to have seeing him fling that football down the field again. And in order for him to do that, those receivers are going to have to get open. And I'm not confident that that's what they're going to do.
I've been telling everyone to relax about Aaron Rodgers, not because, he's going to go back right away to being what he was before last season, because now this is almost a season and a half, but because this guy is pretty good. I mean, he's better than most. So you still got a good quarterback. They're 4-2. But I also did not see anything new last night. I saw him playing a very bad team. Once Hoyer went down, they had no shot, and they're probably going to lose anyway. The defense really couldn't do much. And I saw him dinking and dunking a lot and really not picking up big chunks of yards. I mean, that was the substitute for the running game. Little dink and dunk passes. On the vertical passes, on the stretch vertical, down the field stuff, Same guy, not that accurate. And by the way, where we disagree here is you're blaming his receivers. And certainly he doesn't have Jordy Nelson of a couple of years ago. And sure, that would make a difference. However, Casey Joyner, the football scientist, did tape analysis, tape-based analysis, broke down. He sits there and watches all this stuff and records when it's this guy's fault or that guy's fault. Said Rodgers was off target coming into Week 7, 37.7% of the time on his vertical passes. Those are aerial thrown 11-plus yards down the field. So none of these 5 and 6, and as you said, 5.5 yards a pass. You're throwing it down the field. He's off target qualifying quarterbacks based on the number of reps they've had. That's tape-based analysis that, according to Casey Joyner, showed, no, not his receiver's fault, not his receivers not being open, Aaron Rodgers not being accurate down the field. So then the question becomes, will we see that bad man again that you love to talk about, and I think is, when he's right, is the best, or was, at least till a season and a half ago, the best player in the game? And I'm not convinced we will this season. If you study great athletes in any sport, even the long-time great athletes, there's usually a little dip in their career at some point. They go through that athletic prime early, which is usually the best version of them we see, and then it looks like they're declining, and they're sometimes in their early mid-30s, and then they can have another stretch after that where they're, even if they're a little bit different than they used to be athletically, they're still more or less as good as they ever once were. Maybe a little less, but still approximating it. And usually I think that dip happens when their bodies start to change. They lose a half a step. They're not quite as good as they used to be. They can't get away with quite as much, but they also, because those changes are so imperceptible, they happen so gradually, they haven't yet adjusted to it. And I don't see evidence this season that Aaron Rodgers has adjusted to maybe what the new normal, what the new reality for him is physically, and therefore I have no reason to believe he will throughout the course of this season. He didn't last year. I don't think he's done as being in the conversation for the best player in the game, but I don't think that's going to happen this year.
Well, listen, I can tell you this. The important reasons as to why that is. And for me, Aaron Rodgers looks distracted. He don't look like himself. He was proud of Devontae Adams last night in the way that he was playing. I remember I was talking to Mark Schlereth on my radio show yesterday, and he was alluding to Aaron Rodgers and how, being distracted. His brother was on The Bachelor. Family business got out in public, and all of this other stuff. I mean, just bringing in. Some people have been bringing into the equation off-field things that may play a role in how a guy's psyche is and how he approaches the game and how he looks on the field in terms of playing the game of football. I'm seeing Aaron Rodgers underthrow and overthrow. I'm seeing him lose the football. Second consecutive week he's lost fumbles. This is a guy that's made a career not only of throwing beautiful passes, but protecting the football. That doesn't appear to be who he is right now. And it's very shocking to see this happen. And so I look at it from that perspective, and that's one of the things that concerns me about him.
Also, the Jeff Pearlman book came out about Favre, and it detailed some of the stuff in his relationship with Aaron Rodgers that was not so flattering for either, maybe particularly not Favre. But at any rate, for those who would dismiss off-the-field distractions as the reason that you could have a negative, it can negatively affect someone's performance, it's really very straightforward. It's common sense. If you have problems at home or in your personal life, does it ever affect your work product? For many of us, the answer is yes. For some, the answer is no. But for many people, the answer is yes. And that goes for athletes, too. And that may be part of the explanation, because what we're seeing the last 6 games this season, or 7 games this season, and all of last season is not the Aaron Rodgers that once was. It's still a good player, but not the best in the game.
Yeah.
Works for me. Works for me. For now, though, I haven't given up hope.
Yep. No matter how mentally tough you are, at the end of the day, we're all human, and it starts to affect you. Coming up next.